biggest problem is back on the Mercedes W14 2023 cars. So we're gonna be going through that and 5 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes receives bad news for 2023 from Aston Martin that porpoising won't disappear completely. Aston Martin Deputy Technical Director Eric Blandon has some bad news for Mercedes as he feels the porpoising issue will not disappear this season. Speaking about the possible challenges that cars could face in 2023 and whether porpoising would be a thing of the past, Blandon disagreed and said that it will continue to be a feature in these new regulations. This could prove to be an issue for a team like Mercedes, which is one of the worst affected teams on the F1 grid. The situation got so bad at one of the races in Baku that Mercedes lead driver Lewis Hamilton was in visible physical pain after the race. Talking about the issues with porpoising and how it could continue to be a factor, Blandon told the official Aston Martin website, "It won't disappear completely. It's something that's inherent within this set of regulations. You've got big tunnels channeling air underneath a car that is running very close to the ground and effectively has a skirt created by the floor edge that's sealing the air in. This combination is what makes the car susceptible to porpoising." Blandon added, "Every F1 car experiences some degree of oscillation, but with the current regulations, due to the aerodynamic load and the variation in that aerodynamic load, this oscillation is more pronounced. You use the same tools, wind tunnel, CFD cluster, software, but it's all about how you extract the data and how you use it." Blandon explained that the main issue with porpoising is that it is far too complicated to simulate the problem. He said, "Simulating the problem is complicated. There aren't many tools that can do that. On a computational side, you can't predict it with normal software. It's not simply a case of running the car in the wind tunnel to see whether it will porpoise. It doesn't work like that because it's a dynamic problem. The aerodynamic loads are constantly changing." He added, "Throughout the 2022 campaign, we advanced our understanding of this new generation of F1 car in several areas, and this enabled us to identify what was causing the bouncing. Mercedes were one of the worst affected on the grid, and proof of it was visible in the violent oscillations their cars were producing. The team did appear to have it under control in the second half of the season, and that did help in producing a lot more performance from the car. Having said that, if the issue still pertains and since it can't be easily simulated, this could prove to be a major issue for Mercedes to overcome." The second story is Lewis Hamilton reveals doubts as he expresses fear he will never win another F1 title. Lewis Hamilton has admitted that he is fearful that he may never win a Formula One World Championship again. Hamilton is arguably one of the sport's greatest ever drivers, having won 7 World Championships during his remarkable career. The British star is the joint most successful world champion, with his tally of 7 equal with fellow great Michael Schumacher. With Hamilton still actively driving, he no doubt has hopes to eclipse Schumacher's record and become the most coveted driver outright. However, after going 2 years without winning the F1 Drivers' Championship, and the Englishman now 38, he does have some fears that he will never add an 8th crown. Hamilton came agonizingly close to doing so in 2021, but was controversially pipped by rival Max Verstappen on the very final lap of the F1 season. 1 year later, the Englishman was well off the pace and finished 6th in the standings as Verstappen went back-to-back. The 2023 season gives the Mercedes man another chance to clinch title number 8, but he does have some concerns that he may no longer have what it takes to become a champion once more. Speaking on the Jay Shetty podcast, he said, "There are days where I do feel like I'm not enough. There are days where I don't feel like I'm good enough. People can be like, 'Yeah, but you've won 7 world titles.' But still there are days where I question, have you still got it? Can you still be the best? I'm having that conversation with myself often." One man who has been an ever-present around Hamilton during his remarkable career is his dad Anthony, and whilst Hamilton may be losing some belief in himself, his old man is still firmly behind him. "But my dad's also there," he went on. "Sometimes I'll say something that's maybe not the most positive, and he'll be the one there just reaffirming, 'You've got this. Believe in yourself.' It's so important for people to have people like that around them. I support myself. I surround myself with other positive people as well. I think it's all our job to lift everyone up. I want everyone around me to win and to become the best versions of themselves." Hamilton will kick off his hunt for a record 8th world title when the 2023 F1 season kicks off in Bahrain on March 5th. The third story is Toto Wolff happy F1 copied US blueprint despite Mercedes losing out. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has praised the introduction of the budget cap as having protected the teams from ourselves, with a spending war having occurred before Chase Carey introduced the cap. The former executive chairman of the pinnacle of motorsport introduced the budget cap into the sport in 2021, with the target being to stop the leading teams from spending considerable amounts more than the midfield and backmarkers. By introducing a cap, it brought the field closer together, given that every side could spend the same amount. While some teams didn't spend the full cap, unlike others, it still saw all the teams spending more similar amounts. Previously, Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari were in their own league, with the trio having been unbeatable financially. The budget cap has somewhat taken that advantage and superpower away from the frontrunners, with the punishment for exceeding the cap being particularly nasty. Red Bull found this out last season, after the FIA determined that they'd breached the 2021 cap by $2.2 million. As punishment, the governing body fined the Austrian $7 million and awarded them a 10% reduction in permitted aerodynamic research for 12 months. As a result, Red Bull will have less time in the wind tunnel this year, meaning their mid-season upgrade packages could be affected. The budget cap played an interesting role last season, with Mercedes having been unable to spend as much as they want to fix the issues with the W13. With that in mind, the budget cap has increased the importance of ensuring that the parts that are being developed are going to be effective, with teams not being able to spend loads to fix it. Wolf is a big fan of the budget cap, with teams having also ended up making more profit, given the fact that they are now spending less annually. The key change was the cost cap introduced by Chase Carey to protect us from ourselves. Wolf told The Times, "The situation before was that Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes were fighting in their own league in a revolving spending war, but the smaller teams were not competitive. The cost cap was based on a blueprint that existed in the US for a long time. In the NFL and NBA, you have a limit to what you can spend on your roster. F1 introduced a cost cap on technical development, which was the game changer for the business side of F1. Suddenly, we were profitable." The fourth story is Lewis Hamilton was tricked by teammate George Russell with hidden ulterior motives. Being teammates with Lewis Hamilton isn't really something to be excited about. Just ask Valtteri Bottas. That being said, for George Russell, his very first year with the Silver Arrows was nothing short of a dream. Granted, the team did drop the ball this time around with the new technical regulations. However, Russell consistently fought at the sharper end of the field, bagging a bevy of podiums and that elusive first Grand Prix win. The cherry on the cake, however, was him being the 7-time champion over the course of the season in equal machinery. That should have been all the validation and motivation the Brit would have required to soldier on into his sophomore year at Mercedes. But racing drivers are relentless beasts, and Russell wouldn't give up without making Hamilton say the exact words he wanted to hear. During the end of the year Q&A for sponsor Petronas, both Hamilton and Russell sat down to ask each other questions sent in by the fans. Russell was keen to take full advantage of this opportunity to trick Hamilton into spilling the beans about how the 7X champ felt about him. While seemingly reading from the card, Russell asked Hamilton, "What traits do you admire most in your teammate?" After a brief pause, the duo burst into a laugh. Hamilton then chimed in, "It's your first year. You're losing it." The 24-year-old then explained, "No, that wasn't the question. It says, what traits do you admire most in others?" On the face of it, Russell's first year with Mercedes should spell danger for Lewis Hamilton. However, his loss to Russell last year may have a deeper cause than you'd think. Lewis Hamilton is a bona fide Mercedes man. After all, after 10 years together in 6 drivers' titles, who wouldn't? People may think that after George Russell beat Hamilton last year, the allegiances within the team may have shifted. But was Russell's victory really as fair and square as we think? In an interview with the BBC, Hamilton revealed, "The whole idea of performing at your best and getting the best result each weekend, of course that would be nice, but I was really about problem solving. I will sacrifice this session or all the sessions to be able to find more data and information for you, so that when we go back to the factory they've got a better understanding of what's going on." But it ultimately hindered some of the weekends, concluded Hamilton as a possible reason for him being outdone by teammate Russell in the final standings. The fifth story is Mercedes F1 team removes FTX logo from cars after crypto exchange's bankruptcy filing. Formula One racing team Mercedes-AMG Petronas announced Friday that it has suspended its partnership with crypto exchange FTX. According to TMZ Sports, the team said it will remove the FTX logo from its cars after the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy this week. Mercedes-AMG Petronas is led by 7-time F1 points champion Lewis Hamilton, making him one of several high-profile athletes to be impacted by FTX bottoming out. TMZ Sports noted that Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady, Golden State Warriors guard Stephen Curry, Los Angeles Angels pitcher and designated hitter Shohei Ohtani, and tennis star Naomi Osaka all have involvement with FTX. Also, the NBA's Miami Heat renamed their home venue FTX Arena next year, although that partnership is likely now in danger. FTX reportedly filed for bankruptcy since it was insolvent and unable to pay out its customers, despite recently being worth $30 billion and claiming this week that it was 100% liquid. The decision to remove the FTX logo from its cars was an about-face for Mercedes-AMG Petronas since Jonathan Noble of Motorsport.com reported Thursday that the team had decided to stick with the decals for this weekend's race. Instead, Hamilton and teammate George Russell will be without FTX advertising on their cars for Sunday's Brazilian Grand Prix. Thanks so much for watching.